afternoon, Commander. My name is Billy Lee, the Community Liaison Specialist with the Westminster Police Department, and great to have you here with us. Can you introduce yourself to the audience that are listening today?
Certainly. My name is Knauerhaze. I'm one of the patrol commanders here at the Westminster Police Department. I'm also the spokesman for the Chief of Police and our Public Information Officer.
As you know, the month of September is the National Emergency Preparedness Month. Can you share with us some of the things that the city will be doing in terms of public service, the police department specifically, and maybe your role?
September is a very important month for all of us here in Westminster, especially the police department. We treat the month of September as an opportunity to communicate to the citizens of Westminster and those doing business here in Westminster that we need to prepare and plan for any kind of natural disaster and be prepared in the future to respond to disasters.
So things like 911 call, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of it, but can you tell us how that's going to be responded in terms of prioritizing the calls? Which one will get the first response?
In a natural disaster, our 911 center is going to be very busy and our police officers will be very busy. Initially, the most important thing to us is the preservation of life, and that's saving people's lives that need help immediately. Our officers are going to be very busy with that. After that, after we get that stabilized and after we work with the fire department and other public agencies, we then go into a mode of preserving property and sustaining life over the few days of the aftermath of a disaster. So initially, we're going to prioritize things, at life-saving. As things stabilize, then we move on to preservation of life, preservation of infrastructure, maintaining our roadways, our buildings, our services, our utilities like gas and water and electricity. But the police department's a 24/7 operation. Right. We're not going anywhere, we're prepared, and we've been training for this for a long time. So that's why September is a great month to just remind people that they need to help us prepare for this.
So you were saying that the police department is self-sustainable. So in this case where we're staying right now, can you tell us a little about what this room, we call it the EOC?
Yeah, this is the Emergency Operations Center of the city, and this building is specifically designed to withstand damage from a natural disaster like an earthquake. So although it may sustain some damage, we've identified it as a place where all department heads and city staff can meet and confer and talk about what we need to do to respond in a disaster. This room will be the living and breathing organism of the city that's operating all emergency services and public services for all the residents here in the city. You'll have people from finance, people from the police department, the fire department, utilities, all converged into one room. And then we'll also have a spokesperson that works directly with the media, giving constant information to the citizens of Westminster on what's happening in the city and around the city.
It looks like the room is really neat because it's broken down to different colors, and I guess when an emergency happens, everybody's going to be here, basically. And do you have some sort of training within all the staff of the city for these situations? Or?
Yes, what we do annually is we do a dry run, and basically what a dry run is, we get everybody in the same room and we make a mock disaster scenario. Okay. That way everybody knows their role, everybody knows how to communicate with each other, and we actually plan this out before it happens. Everybody here in the city knows beforehand exactly where to go, what to do, and what their responsibilities are for.
Okay, and it looks like we are prepared. Do you think that the officer in the vehicle are always also trained, or should they be up to date, and should all the equipment be up to date as well?
Westminster police officers are very highly trained in what they do out there on the street. On top of that training, all of them have been certified in first aid and CPR. We also recently have outfitted our vehicles with automatic external defibrillators, which in a natural disaster emergency situation, we can get there and administer that life-saving effort well before the fire department. On top of that, we have a lot of officers that have former military experience, EMTs, extended education in how to respond to medical situations and disasters. So training's ongoing. We feel that we're very well prepared, but we're constantly training and preparing. And that's really the theme of September, is that we're always in that frame of mind to say, what if, and are we ready?
Yeah, for some who have never been in a training class, do you have any recommendation for them as far as how they can prepare for all these things? Who should they go to for these type of trainings?
Right, that's a great question. One of the things that we really rely on as a police department and City Hall and fire is preparation from the community. It's really going to fall on to the citizens also to be prepared before something like this happens. Citizens have to realize that they may be without services or without attention from police or fire for a period of time, and they need to be able to sustain themselves in an emergency. They also need to keep a lookout for that vulnerable part of the population, our elderly, our children, people with disabilities.
Right.
If you live in a neighborhood where you know that part of the population exists, start formulating a plan now on how you would help that person. How would you talk to your children and treat your children during a natural disaster? Would you go to their school? Would you, talk to them about what if mommy's not here? What if daddy's not here? Those are all conversations and plans that need to happen now, so when the disaster happens, we're all prepared.
Can you share a little bit more of what is the community of the city of Westminster is like here? Like, are the majority of the populations fully acknowledged of these type of emergency, or do you have a population that's very capable of getting all this information? Or
Westminster is in general a very diverse population, and we have a lot of different backgrounds in different parts of the community. So I feel that overall our citizens are well informed about the disasters that take place in California, whether it's fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, landslides, things of that nature. What I think we need to do a better job on is working within the community to educate people and empower people to take care of themselves and to sustain themselves during a crisis until emergency services get there. Sometimes in our elderly community, they may not be as savvy in dealing with technology and the internet and cell phones. Therefore, having a working radio with batteries in a disaster might be their best source of information. Perhaps in the Vietnamese community, again, the radio might be the best source of communication if they're not utilizing social networking as much as some parts of the community. So it's imperative that we look at the entire community as a whole and figure out ways to dissect the community into areas where we know how to communicate with each part of the community in a disaster. On the receiving end, that other part of the community needs to know how to get that information from emergency services and from City Hall also.
Right. For some of those information, where can a typical young adult go to in terms of learning as well as the seniors?
I would go to the Red Cross website. Has a lot of information on what to do to prepare for natural disasters. We're also working really close with Alert OC, which is a mass alert system that notifies residents via phone and other forms of communication about disasters. Those are a couple right off the top of my head that people need to engage and utilize because they're already there. Like I said, preparing for that disaster, it might just be a means of making sure you have enough food and water in your house to sustain yourself for a couple days. A lot of times phone services go down, technology goes down, so having that radio that's battery powered is imperative. Having a go bag with some extra clothes in it, an extra pair of shoes in the car if you get stuck on a road that is collapsed and you need to walk home. Things like that are good things to start talking about and thinking about now.
So when an emergency happened, do you suggest that people call 911? When should they call 911?
In a disaster, call 911 when there is a life-threatening emergency. Again, our 911 center is going to be overwhelmed with phone calls, and there is a possibility that there's going to be some lag time in getting to you and getting to your call. So the expectation would be that it's going to be very hard. That's why we want you to be prepared. And that's why we want you to be kind of self-sustaining. Another piece of advice, I would definitely encourage people in a household to go get your own CPR and first aid training as well.
Right.
And have a person in each household have one of those.
Yeah, because people are not going to respond right away. So,
right.
So you need to know how to save yourself and maybe your immediate family.
Right.
And then if you have time, you save your neighbor.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir. This is the first segment. After the commercials, we're going to be right back with more information.
Thank you.